Even in its 19th season, Deadliest Catch remains a riveting tale of daredevil fishermen who will stop at nothing to catch fish. To land a whopping harvest, Captain Keith and his newly minted partner Rick push into higher latitudes in search of a good spot to conduct the 250-pot attack. But there is a strange surprise awaiting them, one they would have to contend with. Would the captains succeed? What is waiting for the Wizard and Aleutian Lady crews? Join us as we delve into how the Saga crew catch a staggering 350-pound haul of fish. The Saga's Great Haul. Aboard the Saga in the boisterous Bering Sea, Captain Jake Anderson is leading his crew to catch an impressive 350-plus-pound haul of fish. Captain Jake sets up the shallows so his crew can begin fishing. He raises his crew to set up his long-line gear on the roaring seas. He is aiming to make his fourth delivery of 60,000 pounds of black cod in just 72 hours. Captain Jake lets his deckhand Bob know he wants the buoys on this one. The tide is running hard and the wind is blowing hard, so those buoys must be placed as far away from the boat as possible. Bob's actual name is Sophia Nielsen, and she goes over the tasks she has been instructed to do. Sophia Bob Nielsen is a captain in training under Captain Jake. Bob has been through a lot, having lost her parents at a young age. She had inherited the family business. Captain Jake said he knows Bob's eyes are set on birdie crab fishing, but he does not yet know what she is capable of. The best way to find out is to throw her to the wolves. Captain Jake is aiming to carry out a long line. He attempts to explain what it is all about. He says that when you're long lining, I'd normally set up a buoy system right here, away from the boat, and it would run down to the first pot, and that would run down to the second, the third, and so on to the very end, to the next buoy system. I will have 20 pots anchored to the long line that's worth, with product in it, 100 grand. The crew members begin to set up the buoy system accordingly, throwing the buoy balls, ropes and cages overboard. Just then, there is a ratcheting noise that alerts Captain Jake. He wonders aloud, what was that? Where's the line? Captain Jake thinks he has the line on the wheel. He calls for a crew member to come up and check, as he cannot see it coming out of the stern. Mason says that he does not see anything, and that he thinks that he has chopped it. Captain Jake says he can feel that he has something trapped in the wheel. Mason spots the buoy and tells an unhappy Captain Jake that they have a suicide set in their hands. A suicide set, the lining term for losing one of the two buoys set, leaves Captain Jake's 20 ports, along with $50,000 of codfish trapped on the ocean floor. Captain Jake admits frustratingly that he'll lose everything if he loses those bags. He has only one shot at retrieving the buoys, which is very slim. He further admits that it is a tough haul, and it would be really difficult to find the buoys because it is very likely he cannot. Captain Jake needs a buoy to make his deliveries. Perhaps more pressing is the situation he is faced with. Captain Jake's guts tell him to have someone other than Bob throw the buoy, but he has no one else who can do it. His crew is occupied. Mason has to be on the line bin, Mark has to be on the hydraulics, and Cheyenne has to be on the pickup line. As it stands, he has no choice but to trust that Bob will do it right. Captain Jake had promised to teach all she needed to know about Bob this season, and this was a great opportunity. He lets her know that there is only one set of bags on the string, so if she does not throw them far enough, that's a huge problem for him. Captain Jake tells Bob to relax and forget about what happened to cause the suicide. She needs to be calm and throw the buoys properly. He adds that he believes she can do it. This is a proud moment for Captain Jake, as he recognizes that Bob has guts and is determined to make it work. In any case, he still believed it was a tough one to haul. Later on the phone, Bob talks to her brother, Brett Kutina. She says things are really dangerous in his question about how things were going in the Saga. Brett tells her he believes she can figure things out because smooth seas don't make good sailors. He says that she has done things that he has been unable to do and that she shouldn't give up because that was not an option for her. He further tells her she means big things, and they both admit that they miss each other and wave goodbye to each other. Bob explains that Brett, her brother, was also her best friend. After her mum passed, and she was a stubborn teenager, she recalls that her brother pushed her to do a lot of things, and as a result, they would constantly butt heads. She says that no one pushes her as much as her brother, and no one believes in her as much as he does. She knows she can do something if he says she can do it. The crew prepares to retrieve the boy, gearing up and preparing for the important work ahead. Captain Jake tells them to keep their eyes peeled, and they assure him they will. They head towards the suicide set. He let them know they only had one string with bags left, and if anything were to happen to it, he would be losing $100,000 in products plus revenue and the pots themselves. He further explains that failing in their current mission would be bad for him because he has a delivery date and needs the buoy to fill the boat and make that delivery. A lot was riding on the success of this retrieval. A crew member spots something 300 feet away amidst the weather picking up and the waves starting to blast. Captain Jake tells Bob to get ready to throw. He does not want to tell her that they only have one shot at success. He does not want to tell her this because he feels that it might put too much pressure on her that could cause her to fail. With a nervous smile on her face, Bob throws the line and catches the floating buoy on his first throw. The crew members cheer as she retrieves the buoy, and Captain Jake remarks that that is how it is done. With that success in the bag, Bob's confidence climbs. Bob admits that she is still not very good, but she will get better with a lot of practice. With the buoy retrieving, they begin to pull the first pot up, and Captain Jake holds his breath in anticipation. He says there's no turning back now. I need this to hit to make my delivery. Out of the water comes a pot filled with fish, precisely 160. Captain Jake and the crew members are beyond excited. The next haul brings up even more fish, 191. Captain Jake admits that Bob was stepping up and doing what was necessary. He hopes they get the numbers needed to get out of the sea. Captain Jake achieved his goals despite the nearly impossible hurdle he faced. Let's find out more about what makes him tick. On the Wizard and Aleutian Lady, a true tale of perseverance amidst adversity unfolds. Beware of the poachers. Meanwhile, Captain Keith Colburn is steering one boat, the Wizard, while new blood Rick Shelford steers the other, the Aleutian Lady. Captain Keith, Rick, and the Wizard and Aleutian Lady crews notice a suspicious vessel on their radar. What is immediately suspicious about this vessel is that it has its automatic identification system turned off, which suggests that this strange boat does not want to be recognized by any other boats in the waters. This makes the crew suspect that they are dealing with an illegal poacher trying to follow them, hoping to find a good place to get a fantastic catch. If the vessel persists in tailing them, they must take drastic measures to protect their catch. At the point where Captain Keith notices the third boat on his radar, the crew is about to set their huge cage into the water. Captain Keith picks up the comms to inform the crew of the intruder. He quickly points out that he cannot recognize the boat on AIS. Rick informs the captain that the strange boat is about 6 miles away from them. Tyler, a deckhand from the Wizard crew, also observes another boat in the waters and thinks it is not a good sign. Captain Keith further suggests that the strange boat's occupants were certainly watching them. He wants the boat to stay where it is. It is clear from the jump that the crews are unhappy about the uninvited boat, which could be doing a better job snooping on them. The captain also does not want the strange boat to follow them, especially because of what they are setting out to achieve. It was certainly suspicious and was spelling bad news already. Rick, the new member who has been watching the boat and communicating with the captain, wants to give the boat some benefit of the doubt. It could be that they are good fishermen, he says. Or, he says, echoing the captain's thoughts, they are trying to hide something. Given the current situation, the captain issues his command. To confuse them, he orders the Wizard and Aleutian Lady to head directly left at roughly 7 knots or nautical miles per hour while keeping their AIS on. Rick acknowledges the order. He heads west at 270 degrees. The boats splash joyfully as they navigate west to avoid this strange vessel. As soon as it becomes evident that the strange vessel is disappearing from the radar screens, Captain Keith gives Rick the command to switch off his AIS simultaneously with his own. Once they feel safer with their AIS turned off and do not see the strange vessel on their radar, they get ready to drop the huge cages with which they hope to make some big catch. The huge cages, called pots, are rectangular stationary traps made from wire netting and are used to catch crustaceans such as lobsters and crabs. They have a total of 250 pots they are dropping. The pots plunk into the boisterous water, splashing as they make contact. The number of pots tells a lot about the crew's faith in their chosen area. At some point, a crew member shouts 57, the number of crabs they have already caught. Captain Keith is excited about their catch. He says he knew there were crabs in the area where the crews had settled to fish. Rick notices that there is a missing pot and requests some crew members who can check what is happening on the valve. Crew members trace the line of the missing pot and begin to pull it up. What they discovered blew their minds and left Rick uttering some choice words. It was a huge ball of stuff. Rick comments that this stuff could completely take the boat out of commission. 134 declares a crew member as the new number of crabs the crews have caught since they launched their impressive 250 pots into the water. Captain Keith says he had absolutely no doubt they would be successful in their endeavor. The crabs are big, golden and juicy, and there is a lot of excitement among the crew members as more crabs are brought up. Rick reports his unsightly find to Captain Keith, even as the captain envisions their gains. 60 plus a pop, he says. Rick tells him about the debris that has clogged up one of the pots. He describes it as being filled with everything under the sun, including a tie-up line and plain dumps. He says that hauling the next pot will take a lot of work. At this point, Captain Keith admits that his crews have never dealt with illegal fishing boats this deep in American waters. It was clear the strange boat they had spotted earlier and suspected of being an illegal poacher was back in the picture. Captain Keith tells Rick that they need to patrol the area and keep the illegal poacher out of their fishing gear. Rick is down, and he promises to keep Captain Keith posted on what he sees as he patrols. Rick's boat crew members let him know they were good and had gotten everything. Rick, in turn, lets them know they are setting things up double time. Captain Keith says he will not run away from crabs, especially when they are doing so well in the area. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and it was clear they were facing one of them. The sun sets, and soon it is night time. 190 miles northwest of the Bering Sea on the eastern Bird-Eye grounds, the crew is ready to do battle with the illegal poachers. Captain Keith wants to know if Rick has seen anything, but Rick says he has yet to. All appears to be clear. At this point, Captain Keith and Rick have some personal bonding time. The Wizard and Aleutian Lady captains get to know more about themselves. Captain Keith wonders how long Rick has been doing the fishing job. 21 years, Rick tells him. Captain Keith tells Rick that he has been a chief and a deck boss, and that Rick's grandfather would be proud of him. Rick is a third or fourth generation fisherman. His family has been in this line of work forever. The conversation takes on a more emotional turn when Rick recalls how, when his father was still his captain, he would have him on deck, and it was great because he could spend more time with him. He wonders if Captain Keith has any family on his boat. Captain Keith says that it is just him, and it is a really tough job to captain such a boat, and that makes it even more terrifying. Keith agrees. Suddenly, Captain Keith spots something on his radar. He asks Rick if he can see what he sees, and Rick confirms that he can. On the edge of the radar screen, a boat has appeared. This means the boat was just about 6 miles away and heading right towards them. Captain Keith thinks that the approaching boat was set at 2 or 4 miles of range and was not seeing them. Captain Keith asks that they let the strange boat come to them and that both boats shut down all their lights. Lights go out on the Wizard and the Aleutian Lady as the strange boat approaches. In the heat of all this, Captain Keith says he needs to pee downstairs, and Rick makes a job that must be an old man thing. Captain Keith is shown fireworks launching equipment with 46 and 668 shots. He comments that if it does not scare the strange boat away, nothing will. Rick tells Captain Keith to make the move. "All right," says Captain Rick. He asks what Rick can see, and Rick lets him know that the strange boat is still on the same course, heading their way. He also thinks the strange boat cannot see them. The crew of the Wizard prepares to light the fireworks that will alert the strange boat to their presence. The night air is thick with expectation as the waves gently caress the boat. On the count of 3, crew members light a firework on the boat's deck, breaking the calm darkness with a flash of excitement and loud bangs. A fiery fusion plays in the shadows, then bursts into golden colors that pierce the night sky. The water's reflection and the excited screams of the crew add a captivating element to the show by reflecting colors. It sounds like sporadic gunfire. At this point, the crew turns on their sodium lights, lighting up the boats and the surrounding area. Immediately, Rick can see on his radar screen that the strange boat has done a 180 and is going the way it came from. The boat activities must have scared the living hell out of its occupants. The crew members scream excitedly at their achievement, using some choice language to let the strange boat know that this was their watery tuft. The Saga's crew, the man called Jakob. Jakob Anderson, born September 16, 1980, is a fishing vessel FV Saga co-owner and an American fishing captain. Anderson has been fishing for crabs in the Bering Sea for the Discovery Channel documentary series Deadliest Catch since 2007. Captain Sig Hansen first employed Anderson as a greenhorn at Northwestern in 2007. On May 15th of the same year, Anderson debuted on Deadliest Catch with the episode New Beginnings. Since then, Anderson has faced personal tragedies while filming Deadliest Catch. In Season 5's 14th episode, Bitter Tears, he was informed of his sister Chelsea Dawn Anderson's unexpected demise. In Season 6's 11th episode, Blown Off Course, he discovers that his father, Keith Anderson's Anderson truck, had been abandoned in rural Washington and assumed to have passed away. In 2012, the skeletal remains of Anderson's father were found by a hiker about a mile away from where his truck was abandoned. In the same year, Anderson was promoted to deck boss at Northwestern, and later he obtained his USCG mate 1,600-ton license and master 100-ton captain's license. Since 2015, Anderson has captained the crab fishing vessel Saga. Anderson and his spouse Jenna and their 3 children, Aiden, Cadence, and Luca, reside in Seattle, Washington. Anderson is sponsored by DVS Shoes, an American clothing and footwear brand. He is an enthusiastic skateboarder and has released his signature skateboard shoe through the company. Anderson disclosed in an interview with Dr. Drew Pinsky that he is in recovery from alcoholism and that his addiction caused him to be homeless for 2 years. Released by Coventry House Publishing on April 29, 2014, his autobiography, Relapse, quickly became a bestseller. The hero of the story, Bob, has not always had the best life. Let's take a moment to learn more about the captain during training. Bob the Survivor. Bob, whose real name is Sophia Nielsen, has a story of triumph and overcoming despite being dealt horrible cards. She had to get over the loss of her parents to captain the FV Victory, a 74-foot wooden-hulled vessel. Sophia Bob Nielsen, one of the youngest stars in Deadliest Catch Season 19, is barely 23. She began the series as a crew member on Captain Jake Anderson's FV Saga, and while she was on his crabbing vessel, she continued to learn a lot from him. Bob is a third-generation fisherman, but she could never go fishing with her father. She explained that it was only after his death that she decided to board the boats. She was eager to lead the FV Victory by herself. After her father had gone away, she inherited the boat. Bob knew she would inherit the business and the boat at a young age. As a child, she was unaware of how much effort her family put into maintaining the boats. However, she began working hard and dedicating her tears and sweat to the businesses shortly after turning 18 and gaining ownership. Gary Nielsen, Bob's father, is said to have passed away in 2013 from heart problems. Her brother and she were left in 2 fishing boats by their father. Things were not particularly simple. even though her mother and brother tried all in their power to hold on to the boat until she reached the legal age of decision-making about what to do with it. It is unclear what exactly happened to her mother, Annette Donvito, but she too passed just a few years after her father. Jake Anderson and Sophia Bob Nielsen collaborate closely on his boat, FV Saga, on Deadliest Catch Season 19. That is evident in the story of how he had a 350-pound harvest of fish. The fishing pair can relate to one another because Jake has also had personal tragedies. He claims he has always related to that and recognized how difficult it was for her. He told the young fisherman to keep moving forward and not give up, no matter how difficult things appeared. Bob wants to continue her parents' fishing legacy after they pass away. Additionally, Jake mentioned that Bob's brother gave her a lot of assistance when climbing on his crabbing boat. Jake stated, "I already knew that when I brought her there. So I knew that by running her through the deck operations, she already understood engineering, the paperwork, how to steer, and how to land the boat. She has done the work already. I just informed her about how our fishing goes with pots and fishing out west in the Bering Sea." Although Sophia Bob Nielsen, the newcomer to the Deadliest Catch season, became a captain at the end of Season 19, she found that crabbing sometimes gave too much of a good thing. She quickly learned the ropes from FV Saga skipper Jake Anderson, who had prepared her to command her ship. Bob finished her first season almost a week before, but needed help getting Victory's crabs unloaded at the cannery. In the climax of Deadliest Catch, the narrator, Mike Rowe, describes how Bob becomes a victim of her success and puts her six-figure cargo on hold until her planned delivery. Bob had to keep the tanks filled to preserve the enormous crab haul, as she had about a week to kill. However, Victory had other ideas and started to show signs of damage. Fortunately, Bob was able to prevent costly losses by offloading the cargo onto the boat of a fellow fisherman. In addition, she made sure that every member of her staff received $14,000 for their efforts. Bob saw the numerous issues with the Victory as a learning curve. In the end, she was appreciative. Bob intensified her efforts as a captain despite the strain and costs. Granted, the Deadliest Catch has many risks and dangers, but is the reward worth it for the captains and their crew? With great risk comes great reward. Depending on their catch, captains who appear on the popular Discovery Channel program Deadliest Catch may make six figures in a single season, not to mention the money they may receive for participating in the reality series. Jake Anderson has been a cast member since 2007 and has been recognized as a captain. Anderson joined the Deadliest Catch cast more than 17 years ago and worked his way up from a greenhorn to the captain of his vessel, the FV Saga. He is now a seasoned veteran of the Alaskan fishing scene and thinks, with luck, he can make millions of dollars in a matter of weeks. 16 years after he first characterized himself as a street bum, Anderson is heading a multi-million-dollar corporation. He thinks he will make $2.5 million in just 11 days. In addition to those revenues, Anderson receives payment for his appearance on the show. Although he has yet to reveal his exact Deadliest Catch pay, he has hinted that it is not insignificant. Anderson will not disclose his precise salary as a cast member of Deadliest Catch. However, David Lethin, whose FV Aleutian ballad was highlighted in the show's early seasons, claimed to have received $10,000 in exchange for permitting his crew and boat to be filmed in 2005 during the king crab season. The collection of snow crabs brought him an additional $10,000. It is still being determined how much the current captains of Deadliest Catch are paid specifically for the show. Salary ranges for reality TV stars are broad. The salary range for cast members of cable reality shows varies based on their importance to the series, ranging from nothing to $30,000 or more every season. For example, Bob's boat, the Victory, finished the 19th season's winter fishing season in second to last place, bringing in $144,120 and 36,000 pounds of crab. Even though it was not nearly as much as the ship with the highest earnings, the FV Time Bandit, which brought in over $1 million, it was still more than the FV Barbara J, which came in last with $100,370. Captains of Deadliest Catch receive payment for their appearances on the show, but they also earn money from fishing, and that take may be rather large. Thank you for watching. Comment to share what you think about the saga's catch in the comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos.